your English podcast.
Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into a stack of sources you've shared with us, and they're all pointing to, well, a really important topic: the day-to-day reality for English language teachers in schools. We're going to explore the challenges they face and look at what the sources suggest could maybe make things better.
Yeah, and the sources make it pretty clear right away. This is a complex job. It sounds like it's often incredibly tough for teachers to feel like they're, making the progress they want with students, despite putting in so much effort.
Exactly. So, what kind of ground do these sources cover? What are we looking at?
Well, the material we review covers quite a range. Everything from how English is actually being taught,
Mm.
the methodological issues, to the pressures kind of outside the classroom, things like bureaucracy, teacher burnout, and what resources are maybe missing. Our mission here is really to get to the heart of why it feels so hard based on these sources and what paths forward they might illuminate.
Okay, let's jump straight in then. One of the biggest things that seems to come up immediately in the sources is around the methodology itself. You see descriptions of teaching programs that feel a bit, well, outdated, not really designed for how we use language now.
Right. The focus, according to some of these sources, is still maybe too heavily on like rote memorization,
Hmm.
grammar drills,
Yeah.
rather than actually building practical communication skills.
Yeah.
One teacher shared in a source how her lessons sometimes just felt like endless grammar worksheets, filling in blanks, instead of getting students to actually speak or write meaningfully in English. It sounds quite frustrating.
And that connects to another point, doesn't it? The lack of modern tools.
Definitely. The sources highlight a real lack there. We hear about classrooms missing basic multimedia or interactive boards, or even just easy to access online platforms for students to practice outside of class.
Right.
It makes you wonder, as the sources sort of hint, why aren't things like using video clips or podcasts or even educational games more standard?
Okay, so that's the classroom itself. But the sources also paint a really frustrating picture of what's happening outside the teaching, the external stuff.
Yeah, the word that just kept coming up again and again was bureaucracy. Teachers feeling buried in reports, paperwork, stuff that pulls them completely away from actually preparing their lessons.
That must take up so much time.
It does. And it's not just annoying. The sources say this administrative burden is a major stressor. It impacts teachers, obviously, but potentially students too, because teachers just have less headspace, less time to focus on really engaging lessons.
And tied into that bureaucracy, they mention standardized tests as well.
They do. The argument in some sources is that these tests don't always measure real language ability, like fluency or communicative competence, which then adds pressure to just teach to the test rather than focusing on those genuine communication skills.
Which seems like a perfect lead into the next big challenge: emotional burnout.
Exactly. It's all connected. The high workload, that lack of prep time we just talked about,
Yeah.
the admin pressure, the sources link all of this directly to stress, feeling exhausted, and ultimately, burnout. And that, of course, impacts the quality of teaching.
Are there personal stories in there?
There are, yeah. Sources share accounts illustrating just how this overload affects performance day to day. But they also suggest ways to counter it. Things like training on time and stress management, fostering peer support networks, Just creating spaces for teachers to connect and share their experiences seems really important according to the material.
Okay, so let's pivot a bit from the challenges. What about improving things? What solutions do the sources offer?
Well, they propose implementing new, more dynamic methods, things that get students actively using the language.
Yeah.
We're talking about stuff like project-based learning, where students use English for a practical task, or more group discussions, and really integrating multimedia and online resources properly into lessons, not just as an add-on.
And technology seems key there.
A huge emphasis on technology, yes. Using online courses, language learning apps, educational YouTube channels, maybe even virtual classrooms. The idea is that these digital tools can actually ease lesson prep for teachers and significantly boost student engagement, make learning more interactive, more relevant.
That makes sense. What else? Any other big solutions?
Collaboration.
Hmm.
That comes through really strongly as a theme from the sources. The idea of organizing internal workshops, maybe, where teachers can share what's actually working for them in their classrooms, spreading successful practices that way.
Do they give examples of this working?
Yes, the sources offer some illustrations like uh, a teacher who saw real positive changes after experimenting with some innovative methods, or accounts of colleagues successfully shifting to more modern approaches together. There are also mentions of sort of case studies from other schools, maybe integrating specific tech or using automated assessment systems to free up teacher time.
So the core idea is about adapting.
Pretty much. Adapting lesson plans to make them genuinely appealing, weaving in practical tasks, role-playing projects, interactive elements, making it active.
Okay, so we've really covered quite a bit of ground here. From the issues with, let's say, outdated methods and the sheer weight of bureaucracy, through the impact of burnout, and then looking at these potential paths forward, new techniques, technology, and just working together more effectively.
Yeah, and I think what comes through really strongly is this idea that improving language teaching, it's a team effort. It's not just on individual teachers. Everyone involved can contribute somehow, whether it's a teacher trying a new app or colleagues just offering that crucial mutual support.
And the sources seem to have some encouraging words too, particularly for the teachers themselves.
They do. They suggest, don't be afraid to experiment. Recognize how important your work is and understand that meaningful change often starts small. It doesn't have to be a massive overhaul overnight.
And there's a call for schools and administrations too, right, to support this.
Definitely. A clear call for them to get behind gradually introducing these kinds of innovations and supporting their staff through that process.
Okay, so to wrap up, considering all these fundamental challenges teachers are navigating, and especially that tension the sources highlight, the pressure of standardized tests on one side versus this real push for developing actual communication skills on the other. It leaves us with a pretty important question for you, the listener. How might the current system we use for evaluating language learning need to evolve? How can it change to truly support effective teaching and genuine student progress, rather than maybe just measuring discrete skills in isolation? Something to think about.